Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. Well, a sizable voter turnout has been witnessed in the Garo Hills Autonomous District Council polls despite a bandh call given by pressure groups opposing participation of non-tribals in the election process. As per inputs, no untoward incident was reported during the polling period. While the last recorded turnout was over 60% at around 6 p.m., authorities have indicated that the overall poll percentage may cross the 70% mark or at least touch the 70% mark once the data comes in from all the remote polling stations. Brisk voting was witnessed since morning with people coming out early to exercise their franchise. This despite a bandh call given by several prominent pressure groups calling for the boycott of the polls in opposition to participation of non-tribals in the election process. It may be mentioned here that as many as 182 candidates were in fray for the 29 seats up for grabs. Well, how much was at stake for the parties in this crucial polls? Was it truly a battle of prestige between the Congress and the NPP? Can new entrants like the UDP make a mark? Can BJP, which contested around 17 seats, make significant inroads? These are some of the questions that we'll be asking tonight. However, Chief Minister Conrad Sangma was among the early voters today. He voted in TURA. Let's listen into what he said while speaking to Northeast Live right after casting his vote.
We always fight elections on our own. NPP is a different party, BJP is a different party. If you've seen the past elections, whether it's in Meghalaya, Manipur, and even at the national level in Lok Sabha also, we've always fought elections on our own ideologies and our own stands. And therefore, the election is a different process where we fight elections at our own level. But then, obviously, post the elections, depending on the results and situations, then the alliances, if necessary, are made. So that's how it is. It's always been voting low when it comes to district councils. In the last election also, there were 45,000, 46,000 total votes are there, out of which only 11,000 polled last time also. So it's not that surprising that we'll see less turnout, especially in TURA. But we expect more than what was the turnout last time. So last time, as I said, we had a turnout of only 30%, 25%, 30% in TURA. So I hope that we'll touch at least 50% this time. But there's no bandh being called. In fact, we have already taken action against it. We have already called them and told them this is totally illegal. There have been visits made to inform the concerned organizations, but none of them are there. They're I guess they're out of the houses. So all this information has gone. There's nothing like that. There's no apprehension at all. People are coming out in large numbers. You go to market area, there's a much longer line out there. So it's voting is going on in full swing. There's nothing. And road concerns are concerns that are being addressed by the state government. Already, I don't know if it's an appropriate place to talk about all of this, but we have already done a lot of work in terms of water supply. TURA has seen a major boost in terms of water supply scheme that we have given. Major roads, in fact, have already been done out here, and there's also many more things that are happening. And I don't think it's appropriate in a polling station to talk about development aspects, especially when the voting is going on. But the state government, along with the district council, will work on other issues that are of concern of the district council. And more importantly, we have to work towards making sure the council is stable, council becomes financially independent, and the overall management of the finances improve. And that's really what the challenge is. And it is with the state government that we'll work together to ensure that that is achieved.
So, Chief Minister Conrad Sangma there speaking on a host of issues. Of course, he begins with replying to a query on the BJP, the UDP, two allies contesting. Does it make any difference? Well, he said each party was free to contest on its own ideology. He also dismissed the bandh report, saying it did not at all affect the polls. And also he spoke about the development works the NPP would like to carry out if it forms the next executive council. To carry the discussion forward, I'm being joined by Meghalaya BJP Vice President Bernard Marak, who is also a candidate from TURA, who contested from TURA. KUNAL MOMIN of the Congress, also the candidate from TURA, is also joining us from TURA. From Shillong, I'm being joined by AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, former minister, senior Congress leader, and BIPLAB, our correspondent from Garo Hills, also joins me live. from Dudhnoi. Very warm welcome to all of you. If I can go to Bernard Marak first. Bernard Marak, good turnout despite the boycott call. Are you hopeful? Are you hopeful that the BJP will make a mark in the GHADC polls this time?
Yes, we are very sure that BJP will be coming into the executive committee and will be winning a good number of seats this year. And we are sure that we will form the executive committee in district council. Yes.
You are confident, Bernard Marak, there. Bernard Marak, you have been engaged in the campaigning process. How has been the response of the people of Garo Hills to the BJP's campaigning? Some believe that it's hard for the BJP, a party like the BJP, to make inroads in Garo Hills. For someone like you who has been going door to door, interacting with people, how has been the response of the people of Garo Hills to the BJP's mode of campaigning?
In the beginning, it was difficult because the opposition has given a very wrong picture about BJP. But when we have started campaigning about for more than 1.5 months now, we have been able to clarify. We have been able to give a true picture of what BJP is actually, the ideology of the BJP, the principle of BJP, and how the development funds are being given to the people, and different schemes that are being given to the people, and which is not reaching the people actually. It is not reaching the people. So when we have given awareness and when we have given them the clear picture of what BJP wants to do and how BJP wants to develop the area, people's mindset have actually shifted to BJP now. And moreover, about the district council, the poor situation which is actually prevailing in the district council of non-payment of salaries to the employees and lack of development in the council, people have realized that these funds have been given by the council, by the center, under the leadership of the BJP government. Whereas the funds has not been implemented properly in the district council, mostly in the Garo Hills area. There has been lots of misappropriation, there has been misuse of fund, and that is a clear picture that people could see, because most of the employees have relatives, and they are, our Garo Hills is a clan, closely knitted society. So all the corruption that is going on in the district council is actually well known to the people of Garo Hills now. So mostly in TURA, I'm a candidate in 9 TURA GHADC constituency. So here we could see that people have shifted their faith from NPP and Congress to BJP now. So that's why we are very we are very sure that we'll be winning the seat. TURA seat is sure to be won by the BJP. Moreover, we are going to win more seats in other constituencies.
All right. Kunal MOMIN of the Congress, also the candidate from TURA. Kunal MOMIN, how has been the polling, the elections, this GHADC polls for the Congress? How hopeful are you of the results to be in the party's favor?
Yeah, it's been a very hectic election. Like the polling and everything, we have done so. We have given our fullest. So we have tried our level best, and then now what we expect is, we are expecting the Congress party to come out with flying colors.
Absolutely. AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, well, not bad, not a bad turnout. 60% already, where the authorities are expecting it to maybe touch 70%. Not bad for the GHADC polls, right?
All.
Did you expect this kind of turnout after the bandh call, and of course with all the developments in the run up to the polls?
See, it's not about me expecting anything. The very fact that 70% almost was the turnout of the GHADC elections in Garo Hills indicates that the people have no problems with, non-tribals being a part of those elections. So to me, I read it that way.
Biplab, they peaceful polls, we can say peaceful polling for the GHADC. That is also quite significant, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We had expected a little bit of disturbances, but then we didn't really get much. And barring just one incident wherein some miscreants tried to burn a bridge, okay, a defunct bridge really, which wouldn't really have made any difference in terms of people connecting. But it's been a happy poll for everyone, and I think the numbers actually state a lot of things in terms of where things may go from here.
All right, Kunal Momin again. This GHADC polls has been tagged by many as a very crucial battle between the Congress and the NPP once again, even though there are other players in the fray. Kunal Momin, do you see this as a semi-final for the Congress before the next assembly elections?
Yes, definitely, because see, like now the district council polls, whoever emerges as the winner and whoever will be running the district council will be ruling the executive committee in the district council. Like it's been like deciding factor for the 2023 elections.
Absolutely. Ampareen LYNGDOH, would you agree? Would you agree that the results of the GHADC polls will be very crucial? Maybe it shows the way to who sweeps Garo Hills or who leads in Garo Hills in the assembly elections, or it's too early to say anything?
I wouldn't tag 2023 to a GHADC elections. That's the first interpretation that I think is very apparent, because you will see that the public themselves have known to have voted differently in 3 elections: the MP, the MLA, as well as the MDC. So I would say that if our party does well and excels in these elections, we would just have a moral boost. Our morals would be boosted, and it would leave a good feeling in all of us.
Absolutely. Bernard Marak, elections in Meghalaya, especially if we talk about Garo Hills, elections in Garo Hills have been consistently been seen as a battle between two camps, the NPP and the Congress, or whichever party it used to be earlier, or at least in the last 10 years between the NPP and the Congress. The BJP trying to make inroads. How does the BJP fit in this fight, in this apparent fight between the NPP and the Congress?
You see, the people are not party oriented in Garo Hills. Most of the people actually they vote for the candidate. They look at the leadership of the person, the capability of the person. That's why people are not always party oriented. They are actually leadership oriented. That's why when it was a time of Congress, the Congress won. Then came the time of NPP. Yes, NPP also won. But people have seen what these two parties have already done, how they have damaged the all-round development of Garo Hills. So now it is time for BJP. BJP is coming in a very strong way, and just winning TURA seat itself is actually winning 4 MLA constituencies. It's like winning South TURA, North TURA, Gambigri and Rangsakona. So this is a very big area of approximately 60,000 voters. So it is actually belonging not only to NPP, it belongs to 2 NPP, 1 Congress area and 1 is NCP area. But the tremendous support that is coming in from TURA itself is a clear picture that people have shifted their faith from other political parties to BJP now.
Ampareen LYNGDOH, there are new entrants, the UDP, an alliance partner of the NPP in the government, trying to make a mark. The BJP, which has been very aggressive in its approach, even attacking the NPP, the bigger partner in the alliance. also contesting in a number of seats. Do you think these parties, can they dent the chances of one of the two major parties? They are claiming to get as many seats, probably 10, 12, 7, 8. They're claiming to get sizable number of seats. But do you think it's advantage Congress? Maybe, because these are the coalition partners again of the NPP, who are again contesting, and here are in fray against the NPP in a way.
That would play to a certain extent, because that would be a big batting for us. That would be a good wicket for us to fight. But unlikely that the BGP would make very clear inroads, because they promised the same prior to 2018, and they landed up having 2 seats only, which were again won by personalities of the 2 candidates more than any party affiliation. It would be interesting to see how the UDP performs, because the UDP is now back in Garo Hills after a long period of absentia. Whether or not these 3 coalition partners fighting against each other, not having a common minimum program, not lashing at each other all the time, would obviously be a plus point for the Congress, I presume. And my sources tell me that our candidates have fared reasonably well till prior to the polls.
All right, that's confident AMPAREEM LYNGDOH there. BIPLAB, BIPLAB, do you think parties like the UDP, the BJP will be able to make a difference? Or if they cut votes, if they cut into votes, will that be cutting into more of the NPP's votes than the Congress, or that doesn't matter, it could be anyone's? What is the equation like?
Anyone, and if you ask me, there's actually been quite a dent in the in the votes of the different parties, because the UDP for once has actually taken GHADC very seriously, and the most of its party leaders have actually campaigned here. The BJP has already had a base before prior to this, and the BJP too has actually gained some ground. Now, at whose cost really is something that we'll find out in a few days, because we expect the UDP and the BJP to actually get a bigger share of the voting pie than the last time.
All right, that's a pretty interesting observation. Bernard Marak, the BJP has attacked its alliance partner NPP over the state of affairs in the GHADC in the run-up to the polls. Do you think that may have given a slight advantage to the Congress?
No, it's not going to give any advantage to Congress. People are totally fed up with the Congress now. The entire corruption that has taken place in the time of Congress, the manipulation of the scheduled rights of the tribals in the hill areas as well as in the plain areas, is a clear picture to the youths mostly and people in general. So it's not going to give any advantage to the Congress, whereas it might give advantage to the independent candidates. So most probably we are hopeful that BJP might be able to form the EC with the independent candidates.
Very interesting observation there by Bernard Marak. AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, do you think once again, like we have seen in the GHADC, will independents once again play a major role? Can independent candidates be the kingmaker this time round too?
Surely, because there is no anti-defection law in operation in the district councils across the state. So there's going to be a lot of horse trading. And it's going to be interesting because they're going to buy everyone, irrespective of the results. Even NPP and even UDP, because everybody wants power. So it's become quite a situation in the state of Meghalaya.
All right. Our correspondent Rajesh Sangma spoke to former Chief Minister and Congress leader Mukul Sangma earlier on the day. Mukul Sangma was clearly upset about a couple of things. Let's listen in what he had to say.
So we are joined by former Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Dr. Mukul Sangma, who has joined us all the way from Ampati. Sir, what would you like to say about the Garo Hills elections, the GHADC elections that's happening right now, sir?
Well, at the very outset, I wish a very peaceful polling. The only concern is that lots of people are facing substantial quantum of difficulties and hardships. I find this government to be very, very insensitive, irresponsible, because the whole election is being conducted by this government under the control of the government, state government. You know, a number of polling stations have been clubbed into one. In some cases, 3 polling stations have been clubbed into one.
Right.
I came to know only yesterday in some of the constituencies. And you can well imagine the hardship of the people in respect of the time that they have to spend waiting in the queue, and at the same time, the kind of distance they have to cover. So these are all insensitivity, and then the complete lack of sense of responsibility.
Right, sir.
That is one part. And another thing is that this particular election, you will well appreciate the fact that the whole nation has been questioning the use of EVM. And in this particular instance of this GHADC election, it's surprising that the EVM machines are being used without BIPLAB. And so, what is this kind of irresponsibility that is coming from the side of the government? Do they have some malified intention? So the question of reliability and the dependability and the confidence with which people will actually be exercising their right to franchise in as far as deciding on the fate of this election, unacceptable, and then we'll have to question the government why it was done. Because if you see, there has been quite a number of instances where all the concerns have been expressed across the nation. And that's the reason why the BPAT were incorporated with every...
Clearly, former Chief Minister Mukul Sangma not happy about the alleged clubbing of polling stations and EVM machines without VVPATs. We'll take reactions on this from our panelists, but after this very short break. Welcome back. You're watching Bottom Line. We're discussing the Garo Hills, the GHADC polling. If I can go to Bernard Marak again. Bernard Marak, former Chief Minister and Congress leader Mukul Sangma spoke to us earlier in the day. As we just heard him, he was upset about the alleged clubbing of polling stations, which he said has caused enormous inconvenience to the voters, plus the absence of VVPATs. What do you have to say on this, Bernard Marak?
Yeah, we could see that there is no VVPAT in polling stations this time. Moreover, in most of the polling stations where they have clubbed different 2-3 polling stations into one, they are having only one EVMs. So it is causing a lot of inconvenience to the voters. And moreover, the distance of the areas and the lack of transportation because you know that the bandh has been called by the various NGOs during in this election. So it is causing a lot of inconvenience to the voters. Yet people has turned out in a very good way, in a quite a good way, and it's very encouraging. Still, we feel that some rectification has to be done here, in spite of in terms of polling stations and facilities given to the voters.
KUNAL MOMIN, the same question. The leader of opposition, Mukul Sangma, the Congress leader, your leader, has raised questions over the clubbing of polling stations and absence of VVPATs. What is your thought on that? What is your reaction to that, since you have been on the ground as well?
Yes. Yes, polling stations have been clubbed, and then like this time for district council elections, VVPATs has not been used in the polling. So this thing has to be looked into, and why it has not been used for this district council elections. This is a serious matter, so we have to look into this matter.
AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, Mukul Sangma, they are expressing concern. Do we see this as the Congress on the back foot, or well, it's a genuine concern nevertheless, but usually the trend in the democracy these days is that if anyone is crying foul, maybe they are already thinking defeat. That's how it's being interpreted across the country.
Reading into the CLP leader's statement and presuming that he is crying foul because of a probable defeat is a very premature interpretation of the entire scenario. But what concerns me is that the elections have not been conducted as per rule and procedures. So because I am not in location, I wouldn't have or would be privy to what are the kinds of objections that will be put forward in the conduct of these elections, because a VVPAT is compulsory to ensure that the elections are fairly conducted. The other thing is that the credibility of the district councils again is under fire, because if the district administration would carelessly conduct these elections as if they were not even elections, then again we need to make sure that this is taken note of, because in the East Khasi Hills and in the Jayanti Hills districts, these kinds of lapses would not have occurred. So the system is erroneous, and I think that it's not about us. It's not a question about us crying foul, but it is likely unfair.
BIPLAB, the BJP member here, the BJP panelist also mentioned that due to the bandh call, also transportation was a problem. Did you find that an issue? You have been doing rounds of several polling stations and constituencies. Did you find that to be an issue which could have hampered or slightly hampered the turnout, the overall turnout?
To an extent, yes, but that wouldn't really have made too much of a yes. There's been a concern about the clubbing of polling stations. That's something that should have been worked out earlier. To ensure that transportation was more easily available. But I don't think the impact would really be a great thing. We expect a slight impact, but then people who wanted to vote definitely came out in numbers.
If I can go to KUNAL MOMIN again. KUNAL MOMIN, well, despite the bandh call, despite all these issues that we are discussing, we have to accept that it has been a decent turnout. When we talk about Garo Hills, brisk voting was witnessed early on. Do you think these are indications of a quote-unquote change that people are looking for?
Yes, definitely people want a change. See, our state government has been ruled by MD governments. So now the people are very they have seen the government, they have seen what they are doing, they have seen the work of the government. So people are fed up now. So obviously the general public, they need a change. So obviously this time it's going to start from district council elections, so there will be definitely a change of leadership.
Kunal, MOMIN, when it comes to Garo Hills, one issue that features prominently when it comes to polls is people are looking for development, people are looking for employment, people are looking for more infra, and be it the Congress or the NPP or the NCP in the past, well, two parties, two camps have led the state in Garo Hills. What new promises, what does the Congress bring to the table for the people if you form the next executive council? Because Garo Hills, let's face it, Garo Hills has remained deprived for long.
See, if you form the executive council, there are so many things has to be done. Like so many amendments has to be done in district council. So many, like, corruption has to be curbed, and then definitely the issue of non-payment of salaries for the employees of district council. So that thing has this serious matter. So 33 months has been pending, salary has been pending for the employees of district council. So all these issues has to be looked into, and it has to be worked out. Maybe like it cannot be resolved in a single day or in a single term, but definitely we will be working on it, and we will try to we'll try to look into the salary issues of district council and all this maybe other projects which has been implemented. So we'll be looking into it. So, and then all the development schemes which has been implemented earlier, so we have to check on it, we have to verify, we have to do the inquiries whether all this works has been implemented, all the schemes have been implemented in a proper manner.
We are being joined by Roger Sangma, our correspondent live from TURA. Roger, what is the update? Do you have any latest update on the polling percentage, Roger?
Very good evening to you, Nabarun. No, as of now, from the last we heard, it was about 60%, but the EVMs are still coming in. The various polling stations situated in the extreme end of the region, they are still coming in. So it is expected that the numbers will go up. We spoke to the returning officer and the DC of West Garo Hills, Sri Ram Singh, who said that he's hopeful that the numbers will go up and it might touch around 70%, Nabarun.
And a day of peaceful polling, Roger, in Garo Hills, we can say safely, no untoward incident reported so far.
Right, Nabarun. So again, we while talking to the returning officer, he informed us that there were no untoward incident reported and everything was peaceful, and people did turn out in huge numbers to practice the right to franchise, and they rejected the boycott of the GHADC polls, and they came in huge numbers to vote, Nabarun. And I'd just like to remind you, the various NGOs had called for a boycott, a ban from the 10th of April till the 13th, but people did come out. We did see a few of the shops being closed all around the region, but then mostly the people did turn out in huge numbers, Nabarun.
Roger, you have also spoken to a number of voters during the course of the day. What are the aspirations of the people? What were they talking about? What were their expectations from the new council?
Yeah, as you know, Nabarun, the GHADC has been in news for all the wrong reasons. The issues, the main agendas where the non-payment of salaries of the GHADC employees and the corruption issues, and people wanted to vote for a change, and they said they want a good governance. The region lacks infrastructure, and we spoke to a few youths in Ampati as well who said that the youth should get employment as well. These are some of the agendas that the people had in mind, and they wanted to vote for change. And it remains to be seen which party forms the EC. And the people have given the verdict, and in a few days we'll see what the result is, Nabarun.
Thank you so much, Roger, for all those updates. Do keep us updated if there is any information on the latest polling percentage. That was Roger Sangma, our correspondent, reporting from TURA. AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, coming back to you. Well, people in Garo Hills, when they vote, they are looking for development, they are looking for employment, they are looking for more opportunities. Even you mentioned just a short while back, if the polls were being held in Khasi or Jaintia Hills, probably a certain thing would have not happened. So clearly, there is a difference. Why do you think, AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, this difference between Garo Hills and the rest of the state has persisted decades after the formation of Meghalaya?
It's a very tough question to reply. I would assign a few factors. But before I do that, I want to remind you, Nabarun, that it is wrong to interpret the Garo Hills region as continuously backward. We are traveling every time to the Garo Hills, and we have seen that the kind of progress that has occurred in Garo Hills in the developmental scale have been exceptionally high. You should travel to some of our districts like West Khasi Hills, Southwest Khasi Hills, certain parts of the Sora region. The situation is bad. But, when it comes to elections, there is a lot more awareness. The intelligentsia are very vocal in this part of the state. They would disallow any malpractices and manipulations when it comes to elections. Probably, it is a habit that needs to be broken, because from what I'm told, two regions in the state rely heavily on the money power, and the application of evaluation of a candidate in all fair grounds tends to be lacking. So it is just the way things are and the way leaders of the past have left their constituencies, I would presume, that differentiates us from them.
Well, that's a very interesting observation. BIPLAB, well, again, people in Garo Hills, they are seeking, they are continuously seeking change. We're not saying that Garo Hills, the entire Garo Hills is totally underdeveloped, but yes, if we consider Shillong and TURA, Shillong of course is the state capital, there is a difference, and also people in Garo Hills aspire TURA also to come up to that level. So clearly, as on a day like this, when people queue up to exercise their franchise in Garo Hills, in any part of Garo Hills, they're doing so with a hope. And that vote means a lot, because they are voting for that change, isn't it?
Definitely. If you ask me, there are two or three factors in the entire thing. This election would actually show as to whether corruption really means anything to the entire Garo Hills region, because most of the cases that took place in terms of money being siphoned, then corruption becoming more benign, okay, has happened in the past 5 to 7 years. Okay, I wouldn't blame the NPP government alone, but the previous EC as well, the previous Congress-led EC, contributed to started off the entire process. That has been continued on with the NPP, and we've seen central funds seriously go for a toss. So the corruption factor is one thing, and there is an expression here that no matter what you do, it's your clan that votes for you. Okay, your leadership to an extent. Okay, so no matter whether it's corruption that you're based on, or whether as long as you can just provide a good face and a good leadership to the people of Garo Hills, you can actually go forward. So this question can actually be answered in the next 3 or 4 days once we get the results. Because for one, I thought corruption would play a big part in how the people of Garo Hills decided.
Absolutely. Kunal, Momin, now coming back to the polling, coming back to the dynamics, I also asked that question to Ms. AMPAREEM LYNGDOH a short while back. Kunal, Momin, there are new players in the fray this time. UDP, for one, is trying to get its foothold in Garo Hills. Of course, the BJP also contesting in around 17 seats, trying to make a mark. Do you think these players can make a difference? These players can make their presence felt?
Well, obviously, everyone is in a democratic country. Everyone can contest. Every party can put up their own candidates. But see, the mandate, definitely the mandate will go to the national party, and then other regional parties, or they don't play a big role out here in our Garo Hills. And
We will
say
have
for
to wait.
BGP. The BGP, like people of Garo Hills cannot accept BGP.
We will have to wait till result day for this. Bernard Marak, the BJP has promised to address the issue of participation of non-tribals in the council polls. How difficult will that task be, even if we assume that your party gets substantial numbers and forms the next executive council?
Actually, the scheduled provision of the 6th schedule has been violated by the Congress leaders in the past. Our late Captain Sangma as well as late PS Sangma, they have actually violated the entire scheduled provision and turned it into a non-schedule. And because of the non-schedule, the reserved seats have become open now, even in the district council. Moreover, the rules that has been actually framed in 1951 has been amended in 1978, allowing the political parties to participate in the district council election. So there has been a massive manipulation of the scheduled provision of the constitution. That's why what BJP is saying, that what is reserved for the tribals should be reserved for the tribals. Like in Khasi Hills, yes, the Khasi Hills Autonomous District Council has actually framed a different rule other than the 1951 rule. So in a similar pattern, we'll be following up to safeguard the interests of the tribals, the locals here. So that is what we are saying.
I'll very quickly take a reaction from Kunal Momin on this. Kunal Momin, the BJP, of course, very interestingly taking up the issue of non-tribal participation in the GHADC polls. Do you think such a promise of barring participation, do you think the stand of the BJP can have any impact on the polling, however small, however negligible it may be? Kunal Momin.
Yes. Yes. See, promises has been like every candidate will make their own promises. But once you run the executive committee in the district council, once you form the government, then only you can bring up those promises. Then only you can make and do those amendments. That's like say for a separate electoral rule and all those issues. So each and every candidate, they have their own promises, and then maybe it might have some impact on voters, but definitely they know people are wise enough to choose their candidate or choose the leader.
A skeptical Kunal Momin there. AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, do you think this is one issue which comes up every time there is polling and then conveniently forgotten maybe? And does it even matter now?
Very interesting to hear that the BJP is actually supporting the exclusion of non-tribals from the GHADC elections, because the Parliamentary Standing Committee, which is predominantly there from the NDA, have actually defied that, and they've gone right ahead and they've actually recommended for 6 schedule amendments, which will also represent the other minority groups prevalent in the state. So that's an interesting thing. If I can take this as the stand of the BJP, then I'm very happy and jubilant at this point of time. And I hope that these leaders take their opinions to the center, because the proposed amendment to the sixth schedule is now likely to be going ahead. And it is different from the promises made by the BJP on their election platforms in the GHADC elections. So to me, that's very interesting.
Interesting observation there. Biplab, do you think for want of issues, the BJP took this up, or do you think it was a calculated risk taken by the party?
If you actually go by the national stand of the party, they were really catering to, they were actually more or less centering into the Garo Hills itself. But then, if you ask me, it is not really a very practical proposition, because there are quite a few constituencies wherein the number of non-Garos or non-tribals are actually about 80. The ratio is about 80 to 20%. So now what happens if you actually bring about this kind of an amendment and you ask people that you cannot vote any longer, despite the fact that you actually have to pay taxes for being a part of Garo Hills. So that is, if you ask me, it's really a very difficult take on the situation itself. So I don't know how they're going to go about it. But then, if they really are able to, that'll be a different story that you can talk of later.
Bernard Marak, how important is it for the BJP to make itself visible in the GHADC polls, given the issues you have raised in the run-up to the polls? Is this a battle of prestige for the BJP?
I would not put it that way, but it is a right for justice. It is a fight for justice, actually. Our rights has been violated. Our rights as a tribal has been violated, and BJP coming into the picture with a strong manifesto has actually clicked among the indigenous people. Not only tribals, even the non-tribals also. The non-tribals has been barred from participating in the district council election in the last election in 2015. But now, most of the non-tribals' names have been re-included, because in the district council rules, it says that non-tribal who have been residing in a 6th scheduled area for 12 years, they can vote, they have the right to vote. But it never mentioned about the candidature. Still, with the entry of the political parties, the non-tribal has the political parties has actually manipulated the provisions of the 6th schedule, allowing the non-tribals to participate, to contest in the district council. Now that is totally wrong. And with such issues, which we have put it up in the manifesto, people have actually accepted BJP as their own party now. People feel that if anybody can bring a change to the scheduled areas or to the district council and to all the corruption and all the manipulations done by the former political parties, it is only BJP. And it is a clear sign that the way that people have come out to vote in spite of ban called by the NGOs, it is a clear sign that people want BJP to.
I would have loved to take a reaction on this from AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, but I have completely run out of time. Anyways, we'll wait for result day, and things will be very clear. Who will have the last laugh? The Congress, the NPP, the UDP, the BJP, the independents. It will be all out there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bernard Marak. Thank you so much, KUNAL, MOMIN, AMPAREEM LYNGDOH, BIPLAB, for joining me on this very, very interesting discussion. That's a wrap of Bottom Line tonight.